developers and engineers. Hi, I'm Eemeli, and I work at Solu Machines. We're a tiny little startup that some of you might have heard of. Let's actually put it this way. Is there someone here who has not heard of us?
It's okay.
Cool.
It's okay, that means I failed.
This is Mike. He also works at Solu. He has the t-shirt, but he really just makes some of the marketing and outreach that we're doing.
What I do is I make the hand waving.
Yeah. And I try to make some of the what he's hand waving about. There's no real structure to my presentation. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't set it up. Oh, never mind. So I'm just going to talk generally about Solu, what it is that we're doing, and how people like you, and why people like you might be interested in us in particular. I really like answering questions, so please, put your hand up or otherwise indicate stuff that comes to your mind, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. But yeah, Solu is a small company that we realized, I think it was sometime last week, we are probably the largest computer manufacturer in the Nordic countries, on account of having made so far 5, and on Friday 3 more little things like this, which are computers. These are our little attempt at revolutionizing the whole world thing. We are, tagline goes, rethinking the computer. I'm not going to go through the slides because they're boring. We are really trying to present a new alternative to what you can have as a computer. You can have a desktop nowadays, you can have a laptop, and then you can have a server that's hidden somewhere, and then you might be able to have a Raspberry Pi or devices like that, and now you could have a Solu. So the market we're really trying to compete against, to start with, is desktop computers, which sounds to start with kind of huge, but when you start to really think about it, many of us have moved beyond, found different options for ourselves, what kind of computers we're using nowadays, rather than a big gray box with a monitor and a keyboard. We're using different things. And this is one of the things you could be using instead of that big gray box. You'll still need the monitor, you'll still need the keyboard. You will not need the mouse, because this thing is a touchpad. You can use it directly as it is. And this has given us an opportunity to reimagine graphical user interfaces and take a different starting point from which to end up at an operating system, at a user interface. The way we've ended up going has, to a very great extent, depended on one aspect of computing, of how us humans work with devices, how we work with computers, how we really work with anything at all. And that's the fact that whenever we are doing something with something, we're doing it in some specific context. I'm here at this meeting, for instance, because, well, he dragged me in, and this is part of my work life. For many of you, this is probably a part of your work life, but it might be a part of more like your hobby life or something weird in between. Many of us have different sorts of hobbies that we are involved with. We have various groups of friends with whom we are doing sometimes more and sometimes less organized things. We have families, we have a lot of complexity in our lives. We have a lot of things happening in all these parts of our lives. And right now, the tools that we have, computers, we feel don't necessarily give the best starting point for controlling all of that. So we've brought in the concept of the context of everything as a very central part of our whole user interface, whole operating system even. And then, of course, given that we're living in 2015 at the moment, sorry, I didn't set the timer on the screen, so it basically just timed out. That's why it went dark. We're living in a world where we have processing power much more than we had 10, 20, 30 years ago. Moore's law is giving us the fruits of its labors. And that means that you can have a box like this that is running on mobile hardware, basically. And you can use it as a computer. You can't, of course, do everything you can do with a big gray box, but not many of us, in fact, use all the power of a computer all the time. Really, the most stressful things that you can do on a computer are play high 3D graphics games, or do some graphics editing, video editing, compile an operating system, that sort of thing. And much of that, everything else, really, you can run on mobile hardware. And the chips that we have, even in every one of your, not in all your pockets, but never mind, you know what I mean, has more processing power than really you end up being able to use. What we've taken is much of that same sort of hardware, very high-end that sort of hardware, and we've actually made it into a computer. Which means that yes, Solu is based on Android. It's an operating system that at its system level it works with Android. But as you can see, once I turn the screen back on, the user interface is very much not Android. We still have an Android level underneath here that we are slowly getting rid of. Well, not slowly, actually, quite fast. But we're working to build a system where you can have applications that you can now run on Android, be they Android applications or be they web apps, and have them in a new sort of contextual operating system, contextual user interface. That is one aspect of what we've done anew. Another one is the whole two-screen thing, which might not be obvious right away. I mean, right now it even looks pretty, but let's see if the media player will know. That. Yeah. Don't know what happened there. Never mind. The point is that this is a screen, and when you're writing an application for Solu, if we open up, for instance, the browser, sorry, they look tiny at the moment. Small buttons on the corners of the screen. They're controlling the navigation here for the browser. They allow you to move around. They are the user interface elements that you would normally see at the top bar of the big screen there. But we've taken them and moved them to the smaller screen here. Made a truly two-screen system. That's two-screen in a different way than you normally have with a desktop computer, where you have two screens next to each other, and really is all of it's one surface. But these are two different surfaces that any application needs to draw on, and that act very differently. And this is the thing that the user normally interacts with directly, and that's what they're looking at. In that sense, it's very much like a trackpad with a screen underneath it. But that does allow a whole new set of gestural and other interaction modes to be used. And it sets us up for interesting directions in which to take the development of user interfaces. It means that what we are doing really is taking the hand gestures you're doing here, like a three-finger pinch to exit or zoom out of a level as a gesture, and recognizing that gesture, telling the system a gesture has happened, and letting the system handle the actual action that's supposed to go on from there. 3 finger swipe left is our event log, which for this is actually pretty minimal. But these are gestures that I've made on a physical screen here, the user interface that is common to anyone that's got a laptop that they're using nowadays. And this means, though, that the whole user interface can be taken a bit further. It does not matter from the system point of view that the gesture came from a touchpad. It matters what the gesture was. It means that by the time we're ready to actually give this to other people to use, which means within a couple of months, given that we've got a Kickstarter going at the moment, I'm going to be able to just keep my hands on that keyboard and work from there. Generate the same gestures as I would generate from here, and be a fully top-level user of the whole graphical user interface while not having to move my fingers from the keyboard. I'm a Vim user. This might connect with something you've heard of Vim users. And that's something actually that I was really proud to have managed only recently, which is not ready to demo yet in a situation like this, but I got Vim running on that, which means I got a console running on it, and I managed to install Vim and actually have it be running there. It's a computer. It's a production machine. The thing you have in your pocket, be it a phone or a tablet, that in the end ends up being a media consumption device for the most things. The laptop you have, the desktop computer you have at home or at work, those are work machines. Solu is a work machine. It doesn't mean that you can't use it as a media consumption device. Exceptions made for bugs like that. But it's a computer. Any questions so far, or shall I babble on?
So you said it's based on Android OS. Are the applications also sandboxed, or do you have root privileges? How does that work?
Which part?
On Android operating system, the applications are sandboxed.
Yes.
So the application needs to have a specific access to, let's say, a context.
Yeah. Yes, sandboxed Android applications run as sandboxed Android applications on Solu.
So it's been transferred to. Is it?
Yeah.
Solu
Okay, so
OS or
yeah,
just
it's
Solu?
Solo OS. So how does Solo applications run? Do they run differently?
Or
from
do you mean
Android?
Solu or
Yeah,
Android?
so on Solo operating
Yes.
system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the application also other application also sandbox.
In the exact same way as in
Okay.
Android. What we've done is we've started from what Android as an operating system had to offer for us, and we've done as little work as possible to make it work for us. We have had to modify Android down to the kernel level to get this 2-screen setup to work with, because that breaks some of the basic assumptions Android makes about what's happening in the world. But it does mean that Android applications run right away.
So can you use applications that work on Android?
Yes.
It's just they won't be able to take use of all of the stuff that we're
Yes.
building in Solo. They will just run like the shitty Android apps that you're running today.
Or the
Oh, sorry,
nice
the
Android.
quality Android apps that you're building.
He talks a lot of marketing. But yeah, what those already existing Android applications will not be able to do right out of the box is access the whole contextual part that we are the context really that we are offering to what you're working with. So when you're
when you finish the sentence, please get to that part. What is the context in here?
okay, I was gonna explain that. So nowadays when you open your browser, you open a web page that's really your email inbox. And you're automatically probably logged in there because the browser is kept in its cache and local store all your cookies that are keeping you logged into that particular site. But if you want to log into that email inbox or any other service with a different set of credentials, you'll need to log out or actively change what it is that you're telling that website at the other end. In Solu, what we've done is made all of those properties, all of the things, the state that the browser keeps about a specific web page, website, be a part of the specific context, the specific cell that you open, so that if you can have, for example, the same service that you're using with two different identities in two different parts of the Solu world, open it here with one specific set of identity and open it here with a completely different set of identity, and have these things just work. For instance, the context can also mean more than just a single cell, single document or resource that you're opening. It can be a whole tree of these documents. For example, a calendar. I don't know about you guys, but I think currently I'm about 12 different calendars that together make up my calendar. Because there's stuff from work, stuff from home, stuff from all sorts of different places. And the view I get out of those is what I feel of as my calendar. Sharing that whole experience with others is a complete pain, but that's another issue. That view can be represented, for example, in Solu, in that those calendars that I have that are from all the different contexts of my life, I can view them from a sort of root context as through a calendar viewer and see my calendars and see them and access them as they are. But at the same time preventing that calendar application from accessing anything else in my system. So we are sandboxing the parts of your life that you show up in applications. So when you open up Facebook, for instance, you have a cell opening up Facebook, and that's how you experience Facebook. And then you open up a different site somewhere else on your desktop browser nowadays, for instance. That other site will know that you're a Facebook user, this and this, and know a lot of information about you. On Solu, all of that information will be kept contained in the little place that you left for it. The information should not leak across these boundaries, across these different contexts.
There's been so much talk about browsers, I'm going to have to ask, are there any plans to make web apps sort of web first class or first class-ish citizens?
Yes, absolutely. It's a little bit, we're not sure if we're going to get the technical implementation yet so far, but what the end goal that we're aiming for on one aspect is to get it to a point where you can have a web app running on your server and have a W3C web app manifest on your server for it, and for a person visiting that site using Solu to then experience that site entirely as a web app, and to have that web app, if they keep it in their system as a visible thing, be accessible as pretty much anything else in the system. We want to make the experience of applications as transparent to the user as they wish it to be. So if you don't want to interact with applications, you just want to interact with the content, the things, the documents that really are what you're working on, you can mentally at least ignore the applications completely and just work with the content directly. On the other hand, if you're a person who ends up in this room, you might end up wanting to do something more complicated, and that's entirely possible as well.
The thing that you had on the screen previously, could you talk a bit more about that? What is it we're looking at there? It's like a graph, or is it some kind of home screen for the device, or what is the graph? What are the nodes connected for? What
this is the Solu user experience. This is our version of the desktop. So this is one specific context. All of this is demo content, of course, surrounding the Solu presentation that I was showing you. And it's a specific context in a larger set of different contexts. So this is the very top level screen that you have in a Solu world, where you can access what is important to you, what are the things you're currently involved with and working on, and this is really a representation of a graph of cells and contexts, where each of these 4 top level contexts opens up into the cells that they contain. And these cells then are representations of the resources, the documents that you're working with. Some of these here, the ones that are connected to the center, are shared between a number of different people. And some of them are private to this user in particular, and they're not shared. So each of these would be representing a document, a spreadsheet, an address book, a video if it was working, web pages, the tabs that you have open on your device, that because you're working on this thing and it's sort of incomplete and you've left this tab open and then you've left the next tab open and then you have 20 of them. Not that any of us ever does that or anything. Each of these can have a representation in the Solu world as a cell, which is what these blobs here are.
So how do you then know the difference between, let's say, the actual browser cell and the tab cell, so to say, like the document and the app?
But there is no app.
There is no. Each cell is both the document and the app that you use to modify that document.
So if you open 20 tabs, you would for sure have 20 little cells.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a way to have one instead, knowing that, let's say, these are tabs?
Yes, you can make that sort of collection yourself. So you can collect all of these cells and put them into a context of their own. It's not limited to one level.
What was the base of this like graph interface? Do you have some, research saying that works with people better than something else, or did you just like it? Like, where does the graph come from?
It's just pretty.
It's not.
I'm teasing you.
I think a few years ago, I saw something similar as a user interface from the University of Jyväskylä, some research project.
This is not a direct continuation of that, but this is by no means the only such thing in the world.
Well, I'm just asking why that?
Because it's a way for us to visualize this graph or tree of context in which we work. And it's also it allows you to create a space that you're really living in, working in, that matches your own mind and construction of how you see things and see places. It allows you to arrange things as you wish. To have, in addition to just the name and the hierarchical place of where a thing is, you have an understanding of spatial locations for the objects. It adds another dimension that you can use to find what you're looking for.
There's of course the big issue that information doesn't exactly rely on that many, like a finite number of dimensions in a sense. So do you think that adding, like, let's say that I have here now that you get to be going deeper and so that it will be adding then to the ease of use of navigation instead of having just a two-dimensional representation of it? Because now that you were opening here the photo context in here, it's zooming in and it's opening there. So
Yes.
kind of like think that is this tree hierarchy something that you feel that will be working out for you?
Yes, we do.
Or if if you aim not to technical people, will it be working still?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you know?
I've been trying this out. Much to the horror of our head of design and our CEO, I have been letting regular human beings touch and manipulate this.
Because maybe not everybody wants to see, the dimensions. They just want the simplest.
Yeah, you actually find that, or I found that people get it. That the spatial thing works pretty well. That different people have different mental models of how they map their world onto this.
Well,
but
that's quite straightforward.
yeah, this is the thing. It's pretty damn simple. Simple works. Sorry, she had a question. She put her hand up about 6 times.
Oh, sorry.
Not that many, but some. I'm confused. I'm very console type of person looking at things. There are the files and I find them.
Yes.
So how I find things there, because everything looks like a bubble and everything looks the same. Should I go over all the bubbles trying to find the photos of the or should I have 1,000 different contexts and try to remember? It's like finding socks in a drawer. It's very hard.
I know it is.
Prepare them before putting the drawer.
Okay. I don't think there's a search bar that you can pull down and search universally within the space and in that way access it. There may or may not be a console access that we're working on as well.
The other thing is, one of the challenges people have when they look at this for the first time is they go, oh my god, this is so confusing, how do you know where everything is? If I asked you to go to your desk in your office or in your home and get me a piece of paper or an envelope, a pen.
There are resources inside my house, but inside the computer there are endless amounts of things. And
Yeah.
when you go to cloud, you have even more stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, I have 50,000 pictures in the internet.
But
How can I find those if there are bubbles?
But the thing is, how many of those do you actually care about?
Oh, it depends if my mom wants to see pictures when I go.
Yeah, so
Or-
you make a little context and you arrange the pictures and you know how you laid them out. So if anyone else looks at it, it's confusing.
Explanation isn't a very good selling point, You don't sound convincing, because that's the very plain question,
No,
right?
no, it's fair enough. I mean, the other thing is, by the way, if you don't like Solu, that's okay for
No,
us.
they're just curious.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
a
fine.
totally different way of thinking than the
Correct.
normal computers. And
Yes.
they are used to just to go
Yes.
very linear too. So I'm
Yes.
kind of wondering how this works.
So you can come and try it.
Yeah.
If you're at Slush, we will have the devices there. If I'm on the stand, I'm more than happy for people to come and try.
Yeah, I have a question about the monthly payment you have. What happens if I cancel it? So do I have to find a number or what happened? Because I have supporting you on the Kickstarter and I wonder why.
Yeah, so we now have, that question came up enough that we changed the original plan, which was just a flat $20, everyone pays it every month. What you would do is you would drop and we would charge you $1 a year just to make sure that you're alive. Because while cloud storage is not expensive, it's also not free. So we need to make sure that your account is still alive. You would drop the $1 a year plan, which means you will no longer be allowed to import data. You will be able to create new text documents, but you won't be able to save email attachments or basically you won't be able to just use up all our disk space.
Okay.
But once you swap back to the $20, then